Deep within the Council's observation chamber, alien leaders watch in stunned silence as Earth's warship emerges from the forbidding Deathworld. Confusion and fear grip the assembly. How could a primitive species survive such a world, let alone emerge so armed? Meanwhile, aboard the ship, humanity holds its breath, ready for the reckoning. A final cryptic transmission breaks the silence, promising the galaxy's greatest reversal of power. The chamber was an abyss of cold steel and flickering starlight. The Galactic Council's luminaries hovered around a panoramic viewport, eyes locked on a shifting, dust-choked planet below. A Deathworld, a place so merciless that no advanced species had survived its brutal gravitational storms and predatory biospheres. Until now, a flicker on the holoscreen, a jagged silhouette breaking free from the planet's turbulent atmosphere. Councillor Girac, scales rippling with tension, hissed, "It's impossible. The gravitas Deathworld should have crushed any ship trying to leave alive." Beside him, the serene but pale High Emissary Null's voice trembled. That hull signature matches Earth technology, primitive, unshielded and armed." The holoscreen zoomed in on the emerging shape, a colossal warship scarred by cosmic dust and battle wounds. Its angular hull was unlike anything seen before, jagged, almost crude, yet radiating an ominous strength. A younger council member whispered, "Their tech is archaic, but they are here. They survived the Deathworld's crucible." Across the room, a senior general banged a clawed fist on the console, his voice cracking. "We must scramble fleets. This is a violation, an act of defiance against the Accord." Emissary Null's eyes darkened. "No, we underestimated them again. They have transcended Deathworld limits, somehow." The chamber's atmosphere thickened with dread. None could recall a species rising from the gravitas Deathworld, especially not with weapons capable of severing quantum shields and evading gravitic scans. Why are they like this? Zyrac's mind reeled. They should have been extinguished in infancy. A sharp static pierced the room. Cutting to the human warship's cramped bridge, Commander Lila Hart stood silently, gazing through the reinforced viewport at the chaotic "Storm below! Status report." Her voice was low but unwavering. Lieutenant Gomez replied, "We made it through the gravitic turbulence. Shields are holding but at 45% efficiency. Nano-shield integrity degrading fast." Hart's jaw clenched. "Activate EMP dampeners. We cannot let their scanners trace us any longer." The young scientist beside her, Dr. Keenan, swallowed hard. "Commander, the planetary environment, gravity, electromagnetic storms, the radiation. Our systems are barely stable. How did Earth's ancestors survive this?" Hart's eyes flicked to the viewport. "Because they had to. This planet shaped us into survivors, hunters, warriors." She punched a sequence into the console. A countdown began, 00:30. The ship's internal hum dimmed as cloaking fields phased in. The warship was disappearing into near invisibility, leaving only ghostly echoes on enemy radars. Silence settled over the bridge. Hart's voice cut through the quiet like a blade. "Let them watch in fear. We are not what they expect." Back in the council chamber, the holoscreen flickered. A final transmission. The image was grainy, a single human figure, eyes burning with quiet fury. "You betrayed us. You cast us. Don't to die in your wars, your experiments. But Earth does not forget. We do not forgive. We are the reckoning you never saw coming." The council froze, breaths caught in their throats. Chirac hissed through clenched jaws. "They have broken the laws of survival. The galaxy must prepare." Null's voice was barely a whisper. "The warship is only the beginning. Earth's shadow has emerged." The chamber plunged into an uneasy silence, the weight of fear settling like a shroud. The balance of power had just shattered. As the Council scrambles to comprehend Earth's unprecedented survival and the appearance of Its warship on board the human vessel, tensions simmer beneath steely resolve. Commander Hart grapples with the burden of command, haunted by sacrifices and haunted pasts, while the crew prepares for the inevitable confrontation. Meanwhile, alien factions fracture under fear, debating whether to parley or launch a preemptive strike against humanity's enigmatic Deathworld-born warriors. The cold hum of the warship's engines was a steady heartbeat, almost hypnotic against the chaotic maelstrom outside. The gravitas Deathworld had tested every fiber of their being. Its gravity wells bent light itself. The atmosphere roiled with charged particles that shredded sensors, and monstrous beasts hunted below in perpetual twilight. Yet here they were, above it all. Commander Lila Hart stood rigid in the command deck, her dark eyes reflecting flickers of stormlight from the viewport. Around her, the crew moved with urgent purpose. Technicians monitoring failing systems, soldiers preparing weapons, scientists analyzing data streams. "Damage report," Hart demanded, voice calm but laced with steel. Lieutenant Gomez glanced. Up from the sensor console, exhaustion written into his every movement. "Hull integrity is at 72%, Commander. Nano-shield dampeners are holding but weakening. Our stealth field is stable for another hour. Tops." Dr. Keenan stepped forward, his brow furrowed. "Commander, the readings from the Deathworld surface remain baffling. The planet's electromagnetic interference is unlike anything catalogued in galactic databases. It's no wonder no one thought survival possible." Hart's gaze never wavered from the swirling storms below. "We were born for this. Earth's soil breeds resilience. Every hardship forged us into what we are." She turned sharply, voice dropping to a whisper meant only for her closest officers. "Prepare the squad. If the Council dares strike, we'll show them what Deathworld-bred warriors can do." Far away, inside the Galactic Council's chamber, the mood was fractured like shattered crystal. Emissary Nal's voice echoed in a cavernous room, fraught with disbelief. A primitive species, hardened by a world deemed uninhabitable, emerges with weapons capable of crippling fleets. How did they remain hidden? Councillor Zyrak's scaled fingers tapped a rhythm of impatience on the console. "We ignored them for too long. The humans are not simple survivors. They are strategists, hunters. Their warship is a beacon of dread." A third council member, Elder Varath, leaned forward, his eyes clouded with uncertainty. "Our scouts report the warship cloaked in advanced nanotech stealth, likely an EMP field powered by quantum batteries. They manipulate gravity well physics to mask their signature." Null's voice softened with fear. "And their communication patterns, silent for decades, then this violent emergence. It's a message. We are here, and we have endured." Jirak. "Ist. We face a species that the galaxy misread, whose history of sacrifice bred a predator unseen. Should we seek parley or prepare for annihilation?" The chamber divided, some urging caution, others demanding immediate offensive action. The old alliances frayed beneath the weight of this existential threat. Back aboard the warship Resolute, the atmosphere was a different kind of storm, tense, brittle, electric. Chief of Security Sergeant Naomi Reyes moved through the narrow corridors, her boots silent against reinforced flooring. She passed soldiers prepping energy rifles and plasma grenades with methodical precision. Each face told a story of hardship and hardened resolve. In the briefing room, Hart faced a holographic display of the Council's fleets. Dozens of vessels converging, their intent unmistakable. "We cannot outgun them," she said, voice steady despite the weight of command. "But we can outthink them. Deathworld tactics are not just survival, they are warfare. We use their expectations against them." Dr. Keenan chimed in. "Our EMP fields will disable many of their systems, but not all. They still have ships with adaptive shields." Hart nodded grimly. "Then we disrupt their formations, use gravity wells to our advantage. They'll expect a frontal assault. We'll give them a storm. Reyes' voice broke the strategizing. Commander, morale is fragile. The crew remembers the last loss on Earth, the Great Purge. Some still doubt our cause. Hart's eyes flashed, shadowed by memories of scorched cities and fallen comrades. We are not ghosts of the past. We are the storm that will cleanse the galaxy's lies. Tell the crew, every scar is a story of survival. Every survivor is a promise. We fight not for conquest, but for justice. In the cold depths of space, the Council's fleets readied for war. Emissary Nal confronted Xirak behind closed doors. This species fights not for glory or expansion, but vengeance. That is a dangerous enemy. Xirak's voice was low and dangerous. They are primitive in some ways, but lethal in others. They embrace sacrifice and brutality with a clarity we cannot fathom. Nal's eyes dimmed with sorrow. I fear this war will reshape the galaxy's order. Outside the chamber, dissenters whispered rebellion. Some called to harness dark weapons, forbidden by the Accord. Others advocated desperate diplomacy, hoping to buy time. But none could deny the cold truth. The humans from the Deathworld were the storm no one had prepared for. Aboard the Resolute, a young soldier named Jace muttered to himself in the dim glow of the armory. His fingers trembled as he checked the loadout of his rifle. This isn't just war, he whispered. It's survival of everything we are. Naomi Reyes appeared silently behind him. You'll do fine. Remember why you fight. Jace nodded, but his eyes betrayed the fear beneath the steel. Night aboard the warship was not silence, but a taut calm. Hart stood alone on the observation deck, watching distant stars flicker through the storm. Her comm buzzed, a voice she had not expected. To hear, Commander, this is Admiral Hayes. You are not alone. The Council may underestimate us, but Earth's allies are stirring. Prepare for extraction. Hart's breath caught, a promise that the war was far from over, but also that humanity's shadow was spreading. She whispered into the void, let them come. We will show the galaxy what it means to be forged in death. The council chamber flickered with tension as sensors suddenly picked up a pulse from the Deathworld surface. A message, raw and unfiltered, radiated through the chambers. Holoscreens. You thought Earth was broken. You thought we were weak. But from the ashes of your betrayal we rise. This is only the beginning. Panic erupted. Counselors scrambled, but the message lingered. A chilling reminder that the Warship was not just a vessel. It was a symbol. The Deathworld's children had awoken, and the galaxy would never be the same. Tensions escalate as the Resolute moves deeper into hostile space. Commander Hart faces both external threats and internal doubts. Meanwhile, on the Council side, political fractures widen, and a secret faction moves to manipulate the impending war. The shadows between allies and enemies blur, revealing betrayals and hidden motives as humanity's true strength begins to surface. The Resolute slid like a ghost through the void, its gravitic engines humming with quiet power, a stark contrast to the storm raging within its crew. The Deathworld's twisted scars faded behind them, swallowed by the endless black. Inside the command deck, Commander Lila Hart paced with measured urgency. Her mind churned. Every moment closer to the Council's armada brought questions that gnawed at her resolve. Commander, Lieutenant Gomez interrupted, eyes flicking over sensor arrays. We're detecting intermittent gravitic pulses, something moving in the void just beyond sensor range. Hart's gaze sharpened. Enemy scouts? Possibly, Gomez replied. Or worse, a trap. Hart tapped a sequence into the tactical console. Bring the squad leaders to briefing. We need to prepare for every eventuality. The crew gathered in the dim light of the war room. A patchwork of holographic maps, tactical grids, and deep space charts flickering against the walls. Faces illuminated by blues and reds showed the fatigue of endless vigilance, but also The fire of determination. Listen up, Hart began, voice steady but with a hint of steel. We're deep in Council-controlled space now. Their ships will swarm once they identify us. Our survival depends on outthinking them, not outgunning them. She gestured at the holomap. This sector has 3 known fleets converging on our last position. We expect ambushes from patrols and drone swarms. We'll rely on cloaking, EMP bursts, and tactical gravity wells to break their lines. Keenan, the ship's scientist, stepped forward. Our cloaking tech uses nanoscale graviton deflectors that bend light around the ship, but it's energy-intensive. If the Council adapts with gravity sensors or quantum detectors, we'll need backup. Hart nodded. Then we force their hand, hit them where they least expect it. Gravity wells can be weaponized to destabilize ships. We'll use the planet's own environment as our weapon. Sergeant Naomi Reyes, standing at attention, added, "Training is complete. The squad is ready for zero-G boarding and ship sabotage. We're shadows in their midst." Hart's eyes locked on each soldier. Remember, every sacrifice buys time for humanity. In the heart of the Galactic Council's flagship, Emissary Nal stared at the war maps with mounting dread. "The humans are more cunning than anticipated," he murmured. "Their Deathworld bred not only endurance, but tactical brilliance." Zyrak paced beside him, claws clicking on the deck. "Our forces fracture, Nal. Some urge negotiation, others prepare for scorched earth retaliation. Our unity may shatter before battle." Nal's eyes darkened. "We cannot let fear dictate policy, but we must also understand why these humans survive." Varath, the elder, approached quietly. "They are born from sacrifice, hardship sculpted into their very being. Their survival instinct transcends logic." Nal looked up, voice low. "Then we face not just a warship, but a living symbol of a species reborn." Back on the Resolute, Hart's private quarters offered little comfort. She stood by the viewport, staring at a distant star struggling to shine through cosmic dust. Memories surged of her homeworld, of families lost, and the crushing betrayals that drove humanity underground for centuries. Her comm crackled. "Commander, this is Jace. I need to talk." Hart's expression softened slightly. "Go ahead, soldier." Jace's voice was low, almost hesitant. "Why do we keep fighting, Commander? When the Council hits back, what chance do we really have?" Hart's reply was steady, but carried weight. "Because we're not just fighting for survival, Jace. We fight for justice, for every life they tried to erase." There was silence before Jace spoke again. "I'm scared." Hart's voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "Good. Fear keeps us sharp. But remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it." Meanwhile, within the Council's political maze, a shadowy faction moved silently. Known only as the Purge, these radicals believed humanity's destruction was imperative at any cost. Their leader, the enigmatic Vesh, addressed a covert assembly. "The humans' Deathworld is a threat to order itself. We must unleash the full might of our forbidden weapons, plasma infernos, quantum disruptors, and cleanse this anomaly from existence." A younger councillor whispered, "But such weapons risk collateral destruction. Innocents could die." Veshikal's eyes gleamed coldly. "Collateral is inevitable. The galaxy demands stability, not mercy." The Resolute sensors suddenly flared. A warning echoed through the ship. "Incoming drone swarm, portside," Lieutenant Gomez shouted. "They're closing fast." Hart's fingers flew across the control panel. "Activate gravity wells. Deploy EMP bursts. Reyes, lead counter-boarding squads." The corridors filled with urgent footsteps and the metallic hum of weapons charging. Naomi Reyes led the charge, her squad cutting through hatchways, intercepting enemy drones that slipped aboard with mechanical precision. The fight was brutal. Flares, of plasma lighting dark passages, the crunch of nanotech crushing drone circuits. Reyes's voice crackled in comms. They're adaptive, modifying drone frequency to avoid EMP. We need a new angle. Hart barked back. Target their command node. Disable their control signal. Jace ducked behind bulkheads, firing bursts of plasma rifle, the staccato echo ringing in his ears. Every strike was a desperate gamble. Failure meant death. In the war room, Keenan analyzed new data, brow furrowed. The Council is deploying quantum-cloaked fighters, stealth ships that blur conventional detection. Our sensors are almost useless. Hart's jaw tightened. Then we fight in the shadows they can't see. Prepare the nanoshield dampeners and gravity flux disruptors. We'll turn their own technology against them. Gomez added, Commander, we could use the Deathworld's electromagnetic storm patterns as cover for our maneuvers. Hart smiled faintly. Exactly. We learned from the storm. Now the storm will be our ally. Hours later, the battle raged silently in the void. The Resolute danced between gravitic eddies, its silhouette barely perceptible against the starfield. Alien ships struck in waves, but each was met with cunning countermeasures. Gravity wells, pulling attackers into deadly orbits. EMP burst crippling shields, an unexpected boarding raid sowing chaos. On the bridge, Hart's voice was calm but intense. We hold the line. Every second is a victory. Yet beneath the calm, the cost was rising. Casualties mounting, systems failing. Naomi's voice came through comm, strained but resolute. Squad Delta is down to half strength. Boarding parties are relentless. Hart's heart clenched, but she kept her composure. We are humanity's last line. We do not break. The Council's flagship convulsed with unrest. Nal stared out at the chaos, voice hollow. How do we fight a species that bends nature, technology, and spirit in ways we cannot understand? And Zirak's claws drummed an impatient rhythm. We underestimated them, and now the shadows swallow our fleets. Veshikal's plan brewed darker, but the Council's cracks threatened to split them apart entirely. In the quiet moments between battle, Jace found himself beside Hart on the observation deck. Commander, he said quietly, do you think we'll win? Hart studied the stars again, voice steady, resolute. Not because we want to, because we have to, because we carry the weight of every sacrifice. She paused, eyes shining with fierce determination. We are not just survivors. We are the storm no one saw coming. As Resolute pushes deeper into enemy territory, secrets from humanity's past and the origins of the Deathworld resurface. Commander Hart wrestles with betrayal inside her ranks, while the Council's desperation drives them toward ruthless measures. The fragile line between ally and enemy blurs, revealing that the greatest threat may lie not in the stars, but within. The distant stars beyond the Resolute's viewport blinked like cold witnesses to a war they did not understand. Commander Lila Hart sat silently, the hum of the ship's gravitic core beneath her a steady pulse, a heartbeat that refused to falter. Despite the tempest brewing around them, her mind wasn't on the tactical grids or the incoming alerts. It was on the whispers she'd received days ago, intelligence from a captured scout, hints of a betrayal not from the enemy, but from within. She exhaled slowly, rising from the chair as the command deck buzzed with activity. Lieutenant Gomez approached cautiously, voice low. Commander, the data you requested, it's disturbing. Hart took the datapad, eyes scanning the encrypted files. Tell me. Gomez's jaw clenched. We intercepted transmissions, Council communications, but also something else. Human, unauthorized transmissions from within our own fleet. Hart's breath hitched. Traitors? Gomez nodded. It appears some factions want us dead before we reach the Council's core systems. Sabotage, misinformation, even assassination attempts. Hart's gaze hardened. We're not just fighting a war outside, it's inside too. In a shadowed corridor, deep within the Resolute's hull, Jace crouched beside a flickering power conduit, fingers working to repair a severed data line. Naomi's voice crackled softly in his ear. Jace, you're needed on the bridge. Something's wrong with the tactical array. He glanced at the repair. Smoke was curling faintly from the damaged circuits. On my way, he whispered. As he sprinted through the ship's winding passages, the weight of suspicion settled heavily on his shoulders. Who among them could betray humanity at such a pivotal moment? Meanwhile, aboard the Council flagship, Emissary Naal's thoughts churned darkly. Betrayal is a poison, he mused aloud to Varath, who stood beside him, eyes closed in silent meditation. Naal's voice was bitter. We thought humanity was our enemy, but now we wonder if our own kind will undo us first. Varath opened his eyes slowly. Fear fractures even the strongest alliances, but the humans, they thrive in chaos. Naal's gaze narrowed. They use betrayal like a weapon. We must do the same. Back on Resolute, the bridge erupted in tension. Lieutenant Gomez's voice was urgent. Commander, tactical array is compromised. Someone's feeding false sensor data. Hart's hand slammed the console. Seal all non-essential systems. Activate internal security protocols. I want every crew member scanned. The ship's AI chimed. Security lockdown initiated. Suspected breach detected in engineering bay. Hart's mind raced. Reyes, lead security teams to engineering. Jace, with me, we need answers. The engineering bay was dim, emergency lights casting long shadows over exposed wiring and humming machinery. Naomi's squad moved methodically, weapons ready. Jace inspected the main power conduit. The sabotage was sophisticated, designed to cause a cascade failure. Suddenly, a figure darted from the shadows. Stop! Jace yelled, weapon raised. The figure froze. It was Lieutenant Kellen, a trusted officer. Naomi's voice was cold. Explain yourself, Kellen. Kellen's eyes flickered with desperation. I'm not your enemy. There's something bigger at play. Hart arrived seconds later, scanning Kellen with suspicion. Then explain why you tampered with the power systems during battle. Kellen's voice cracked. Because if we don't, the entire fleet dies, not just Resolute. There are forces within the Council using us as pawns. The revelation rippled through the crew, shaking the fragile trust. Hart paced, thoughts colliding. If the Council's own factions are undermining us, then this war isn't just about territory or revenge. It's about control. Kellen nodded grimly. The Purge faction. They plan to use a doomsday device on the Deathworld, not just to wipe us out, but to destroy any hope for peace. Hart's eyes burned with determination. Then we stop them, no matter the cost. In the council chamber, Veshikal's voice cut through the murmurs. The humans have revealed our weakness, our disunity. We must unite under fear, not mercy. The Purge's device will ensure that, Emissary Naal's voice countered. Destroying the Deathworld risks annihilating countless innocents. We cannot become monsters, Veshkal sneered. Monsters are what the humans call us because they fear what we've forgotten. Ruthless survival. Back on the Resolute, the crew prepared for a covert mission. Hart addressed her officers. We infiltrate the Purge's stronghold on the Deathworld, sabotage their weapon. This is our last chance. Keenan outlined the plan. Nanotech cloaks will mask our presence. Gravity disruptors will help us navigate hostile terrain. Jace tightened his grip on his rifle. And if we're discovered, Hart's voice was steady, fierce, then we fight. Not just for ourselves, but for every life the Council would sacrifice. As the Resolute descended toward the Deathworld, the planet's scarred surface loomed beneath them, a cruel reminder of past wars and hidden horrors. Hart's final words echoed through the comms. This is more than survival. It's our declaration. Humanity will not be broken. The ship slipped into the planet's turbulent atmosphere, shadows swallowing them whole. The stars outside the viewport glimmered coldly, indifferent to the war unfolding below. Commander. Layla Hart sat motionless in the command chair, her eyes locked on the starfield, but her mind was a tempest. The Resolute had pierced deep into the Deathworld's orbit, but the real threat was no longer just the alien council or their merciless warriors. It was the whisper of betrayal that echoed through the ship's corridors. Lieutenant Gomez approached silently, holding a data pad with a pale blue glow that lit his tense face. "Commander, the transmissions you asked for," he said, voice low, wary. "We've found unauthorized communication, encrypted messages being sent from within our own fleet. Not from the enemy, but from humans." Hart took the pad and stared, cold dread settling in her gut. "Saboteurs," she said quietly, her voice a blade. "Why now?" Gomez shook his head. "I don't know their motive. But these transmissions coincide with recent system failures and strange battle outcomes. They're sabotaging our chances." The command deck seemed to shrink, the air thickening with suspicion. Hart's gaze flicked around the room. Trust was a luxury they could no longer afford. In the dimly lit corridors of the Resolute, Jace moved swiftly, heart pounding. The emergency lights flickered, casting long, twisting shadows on the cold, metal walls. He had been summoned to the bridge, but his gut told him something darker was afoot. He'd found the sabotage in the engineering bay earlier, a precise cut in the main power conduit that could have doomed them all, if not repaired in time. "Jace, come in." Naomi's voice crackled over the comms, tense and sharp. "There's been a breach in the tactical systems. We're seeing false readings, sensor ghosts. Someone's trying to blind us from within." He sprinted toward the bridge, weaving past clusters of crew engrossed in their tasks, but casting suspicious glances. Each face could hide a traitor. The thought weighed on him like a second skin. On the alien council flagship, Emissary Nal sat brooding, his tendrils twitching with unease. "Our own council fractures beneath us," he murmured to Varath, the elder beside him. "We believed the humans were our greatest threat, but now doubt consumes even our closest allies." Varath's eyes closed in meditation, then opened slowly. "Fear is a cruel teacher. It reveals who we truly are." Nal's voice cracked, a rare weakness breaking through his veneer of control. "They wield betrayal as a weapon. We must be equally ruthless or be destroyed." Back on Resolute, alarms blared. Lieutenant Gomez barked orders. "Security lockdown. Scan all personnel. Seal off affected systems." Hart's mind raced. "Reyes, lead security teams to engineering. Jace, you're with me. We root this out." The corridors quickly became battle zones of suspicion and fear. Every face was a question, every shadow a threat. In engineering, the scene was chaos beneath the calm. Jace inspected the main power line again. The sabotage was complex, not amateurish, the kind of precision that only a trained hand could manage. Naomi's squad moved with military precision, weapons drawn, eyes sharp. Suddenly a figure darted from behind a bulkhead. "Hold it," Jace commanded, raising his weapon. The figure froze. It was Lieutenant Kellen, someone Hart had trusted implicitly. Naomi's voice cut through the tension. "Explain yourself." Kellen's eyes held desperation and fear. "I'm not your enemy. The sabotage—" "It's a warning." Hart arrived, voice cold steel. "Why risk the lives of everyone aboard?" "Because," Kellen said, voice low, "if we don't stop the Purge faction, the whole fleet will be destroyed. They have a weapon. Something. The Council wants to unleash on the Deathworld. It's a doomsday device." The weight of the revelation crushed the room's air. Hart paced, fury and disbelief clashing inside her. The Council's own faction would destroy the planet, and us, all to consolidate power. Kellen nodded grimly. "They see us as expendable." as pawns. Hart's resolve sharpened. Then we stop them, no matter the cost. In the council chamber, Veshkal's voice thundered above the murmurs. The humans have exposed our fractures. Fear unites better than mercy. The Purge's weapon will ensure dominance. Emissary Naal's tone was pleading. Destroying the Deathworld will kill innocence. We must find another way. Veshkal sneered. Mercy is weakness. The humans call us monsters because they see the truth in us. On resolute plans formed quickly, we infiltrate the Purge stronghold, Hart ordered. Disable the weapon. Keenan detailed the strategy. Nanotech cloaks for stealth, gravity disruptors to move unseen. We move fast, silent. Jace checked his rifle, hands steady. If they find us, it ends in fire. Hart's eyes burned, with determination. Then we light the fire ourselves. The Resolute pierced the Deathworld's turbulent atmosphere. The scarred planet below whispered of bloodshed and sacrifice. Hart's last words into the comms resonated through the ship. This isn't just survival. This is our reckoning. Humanity will not break. The shadows swallowed the ship as it descended, and the war's darkest chapter began. A low hum echoed through the ship's hull as power flowed steadily through the repaired conduits. Yet the unease lingered. Jace stood at the viewport watching. The Deathworld's twisted landscape below, a fractured wasteland of jagged cliffs and toxic swamps. The planet was alive in its hostility, every inch a reminder of the brutal history between humanity and the Council. Naomi joined him silently. We're walking into the lion's den. Jace nodded. And the lion's claws are sharper than we thought. Hart convened her officers in the strategy room. The holomap of the Deathworld spun slowly, pinpointing the Purge faction's fortress deep in the toxic Badlands. We're outnumbered, she said, voice steady. But we have one advantage. Their weapon is not ready. We strike before it's armed. Gomez frowned. What about the sabotage? We still don't know who within us is compromised. Hart met his gaze. We root them out. Now. That night, the ship's corridors were restless. Eyes darted behind. Shields, whispers carried like poison in the recycled air. Hart lay awake in her quarters, mind replaying the faces of those she trusted and doubted. The line between ally and enemy blurred in the cold silence. A single word echoed in her thoughts: betrayal. The next morning, an urgent call came from engineering. Commander, another sabotage attempt. This time, it targeted the nanocloak generators. Hart's jaw tightened. They want us blind and vulnerable. She clenched her fists. Prepare the strike teams. We move at dawn. As the ship powered down systems and prepared for infiltration, Hart stared once more at the Deathworld. The place humanity had once abandoned now held their fate. She whispered to herself, a vow forged in fire: we will rise from the ashes of betrayal. The Resolute slipped into stealth, cloaked by shimmering nanotech that bent light and sound. The crew strapped in, hearts pounding with the knowledge that this mission could end them all. Jace exchanged a tense look with Naomi. No going back. Hart's final orders crackled through the comms. For Earth, for humanity, let's show the Council what it means to be truly relentless. The drop pods fired, hurtling silently toward the toxic surface below. As the shadows enveloped them, one thing was clear. Humanity was no longer the hunted. They were the reckoning. A distant tremor shook the planet beneath their feet. Somewhere in the dark, the Purge faction prepared their final gambit. The countdown had begun. The drop pods slammed into the Deathworld's scarred surface with bone-jarring force. Dust and toxic mists billowed around the landing zones, the air thick with chemical tang and foreboding silence. Commander Hart's pod hatch hissed open, and she emerged, face set like flint beneath her helmet visor. Around her, the strike team spilled out: Naomi, Jace, Lieutenant Gomez, and the rest, all clad in adaptive armor, shimmering faintly with cloaking nanotech. Each step was a calculated risk, every breath a reminder of the planet's hostility. "Status report," Hart ordered, voice low but commanding. "Systems nominal," Gomez replied, scanning for biosignatures. "No sign of purge forces yet, but sensor interference is heavy." Hart's eyes narrowed. "They're waiting. We need to move fast." The terrain was a nightmare, jagged black rock fractured by toxic swamps and acid rains. They advanced through thick fog, shadows shifting, in the gloom like predators stalking prey. The toxic atmosphere seeped through their suits in minute amounts, a constant threat. Suddenly Jace froze, hand raised. Movement ahead. Through the haze, faint silhouettes emerged. Purge patrols, armored and deadly, scanning with pulse. Rifles. Hart signaled a halt. "Hold position." The squad melted into the rocky cover, breathing shallow, hearts pounding. Naomi whispered, "We can't afford a firefight now." Hart's jaw clenched. "We won't get one." With a flick of her wrist, she triggered an EMP pulse from her wrist console. A soft blue wave rippled out, short-circuiting enemy electronics. The purge soldiers convulsed, their weapons sparking. Useless. Confusion rippled through their ranks. "Go!" Hart ordered. The strike team surged forward, silent but deadly. Blades and silenced weapons found throats and weapon nodes alike. The ambush was swift, brutal, and merciless. In the aftermath, the strike team pressed on, deeper into the Badlands. Their comms buzzed with static and fragmented messages, indications the purge weapon was nearing activation. Gomez's voice crackled urgently. "Commander, we intercepted a data burst. The weapon's core is powered by exotic nanomaterial harvested from the Deathworld itself. It's unstable, could detonate the entire planet if triggered prematurely." Hart's mind raced. "Then we can't afford to delay." Jace glanced around nervously. "That means one mistake, one sabotage, and it's over." Hart nodded grimly. "Which means we can't trust anyone. Not even our own shadows." Back aboard the Resolute, tensions ran high. Lieutenant Kellen was confined, guarded heavily but defiant. Hart paced the strategy room, turning over possibilities. "If the Purge faction has collaborators here, we need proof. Without it, we're sitting ducks." Naomi's voice was firm. "We should run background checks on every crew member again, cross-reference anomalies with mission data." Hart's lips pressed tight. "And what if the traitors know we're watching? We could be walking into a trap." On the Deathworld surface, the strike team reached the edge of a craterous valley, steam rising from fissures in the cracked earth. The Purge fortress loomed ahead, a twisted spire of black metal and bioorganic material, pulsing with ominous energy. Hart signaled for a halt. "Recon drones," she whispered. "Get eyes inside." Tiny devices slipped from the team's packs, humming as they scouted through ventilation shafts and cracked walls. Their feeds revealed horrors, biomechanical guards fused with alien tech, pulsing veins of glowing nanomaterial, and the heart of the weapon itself, a massive reactor chamber thrumming with lethal energy. Suddenly, alarms blared within the fortress. The strike team tensed. "They know we're here," Gomez muttered. Hart's voice was steel. "Prepare for assault." The Purge forces emerged, swarming like locusts. Tall, ruthless warriors wielding devastating plasma weaponry. The battle erupted in a furious storm of fire and steel. Cloaking nanotech flickered under heavy fire, and gravity disruptors sent shockwaves through the battlefield. Jace fought with cold precision, each shot calculated, each movement fluid. Naomi's squad provided cover, suppressing enemy advances while Hart pushed toward the reactor. The weapon's core pulsed brighter, a terrifying heartbeat counting down. Inside the reactor chamber, Hart planted nano-disruptors on the core's surface. Sparks flew as the devices burrowed into the exotic nanomaterial. Her comm buzzed with Gomez's voice, strained and urgent. "Purge reinforcements inbound. They've breached the inner perimeter." Hart's breath hitched. "Naomi, cover me!" "Jace, intercept the reinforcements." The fight outside surged with desperate fury. In the chaos, Kellen's words echoed in Hart's mind. The Purge will sacrifice everything to control this weapon. Hart's fingers danced over the disruptor panel, overriding the countdown. A surge of energy knocked her backward, the weapon's failsafe triggering a violent pulse. The chamber shook violently. Outside, explosions rocked the fortress, fire lighting the toxic sky. The weapon's shutdown sequence engaged, but the cost was steep. The fortress began to collapse. Retreat, Hart ordered, grabbing Gomez's arm and hauling him toward the exit. The team fought through collapsing corridors and toxic clouds, the planet itself seeming to rebel beneath their feet. Back on the Resolute, the ship shuddered as the Deathworld's unstable core reacted violently. Veshkal's enraged scream echoed across comm channels, his power fracturing as his plans unraveled. Nal's voice was weary but resolute. The reckoning has begun. We must face what humanity has become. In the ship's medbay, Hart slumped against the cold wall, bruised but alive. Naomi stood beside, her voice soft but fierce. We stopped the weapon, but at what cost? Hart's eyes burned. At every cost, because if we don't, no one else will. Jace entered, his gaze heavy. The Council underestimates us still, but we've shown them the truth. As the Resolute limped away from the Deathworld's dying surface, Hart stared into the starfield once more. The war was far from over, but humanity had carved its defiant mark into the galaxy's heart, and, in the silence between stars, a new promise was born. No matter the betrayal, no matter the cost, Earth would rise. The cold void of space stretched endlessly beyond the observation dome of the Galactic Council's flagship. Councilors gathered in tense silence, their many eyes fixed on the hollow projection, flickering before them. The image was impossible to ignore. Earth's warship, battered but unbowed, emerged from the toxic clouds of the Deathworld, its hull scarred by battle, but its weapons still primed and deadly. Veshikal's usual arrogance had drained away, replaced by a hollow dread. They defy extinction. They are no longer the primitive species we once mocked. Nal, the Council's wisest elder, nodded slowly, voice grave. They have rewritten the rules of survival, and now the galaxy must listen. Inside the warship's command bridge, Commander Hart stood tall, the weight of countless battles etched on her face. The stars outside seemed to watch silently as the final confrontation approached. Around her, the crew moved with grim purpose, scientists stabilizing nanotech systems, soldiers readying plasma cannons, engineers patching wounds in the hull. "This is our moment," Hart said, voice steady but fierce. "Not just for Earth, but for every world they sought to crush. Today we reclaim our right to exist." The enemy fleet descended like a swarm, vast and merciless. Purge dreadnoughts bore down, their weapons glowing with the promise of annihilation. Yet humanity's warship held steady, cloaked in layers of adaptive stealth and electromagnetic shields, pulsing against the onslaught. A burst of energy ripped through space as the battle erupted. Plasma lances sliced starships apart. Nanite swarms infiltrated enemy systems, and gravity mines detonated in deadly arcs. Hart's voice cut through the chaos. "Fire everything, no mercy!" Amid the frenzy, a single alien admiral broke from formation, attempting a desperate gambit to board the warship. Sensors blared warnings. "Boarders incoming!" Naomi shouted, rallying the defenders. The corridors filled with frantic firefights, human and alien combatants clashing in brutal close quarters. The warship itself seemed alive, responding with automated defenses and surges of power. Hart confronted the Admiral face-to-face in the command deck's core chamber. Their eyes locked, centuries of hatred and fear boiled into a single moment. "You thought us weak," Hart said, voice low and cold. "But you were wrong. We fight because we must. We fight because we are humanity." The Admiral snarled, lunging forward, but Hart was faster. With a swift strike, She disarmed and subdued him. The battle's tide turned as the warship unleashed its final secret, an experimental EMP pulse, augmented with nanotech disruptors designed to cripple the Purge's weapons and communications. Permanently, the enemy fleet shuddered and faltered, ships going dark in waves. From the bridge, Hart watched the destruction with heavy heart. This is victory, but not without sacrifice. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council convened once more, this time with humanity's representatives invited to speak. Hart addressed the assembly, voice echoing through the chamber. "We did not come to conquer, but to survive. We did not come to destroy, but to defend. Let this be a warning and a promise. Humanity will endure. We will rise beyond your fears and prejudices." The councillors exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of history shifting beneath their feet. Nal stepped forward, voice tempered with newfound respect. "Perhaps it is time to rewrite the future, not as conquerors, but as allies." As the warship set course for Earth, stars streaming past in silent witness, Hart allowed herself a rare moment of hope. For the first time in a long while, the darkness between worlds seemed a little less vast, because Earth's warship had emerged from the Deathworld and the galaxy would never be the same again.